All right, so good to see everybody. I got to mention a few things. First of all, tonight is Yud Tes Kislev. You're learning, it's called Chabad Academy. So you're dealing with all the rabbis. All the rabbis are Chabad. And Chabad is a type of Hasidus, which we claim to be the most supreme form of Hasidus. You'll never hear anybody say that. That's just my own words. Tonight is the night that the Alter Rebbe, the founder of Chabad movement, was released from jail, which, spiritually speaking, I'm not going to get into a whole bunch of talk about it. Spiritually speaking, the Baal Shem Tov set up a new emphasis, that the generation had a new emphasis in Torah study. We will get to halacha, by the way. A new emphasis in Torah study, an approach to life, which showed the value of the most simple Jew. It showed the value of what a Jew is. That was what the Baal Shem Tov brought about. That up until then, people thought you have to really become Jewish to appreciate Judaism or to be a worthy Jew. And the Alter Rebbe, and the Baal Shem Tov said, no, it's a neshama thing. It's a soul thing. You just have to reveal who you are. Like I say always, it's not my line, that Tshuva is not about becoming a new person. It's just revealing who you really are. And that's what the Baal Shem Tov was trying to emphasize. And not only a Jew has this special connection to Hashem, but everything in the world has this divinity in it that is trying to break out, is trying to be revealed. Now, the Alter Rebbe, and it was very controversial at the time, and it's the Panemius of Torah, it's the secrets of Torah, which was only held to close circles. And the Baal Shem Tov said, now is the time for everyone. It should be to the masses. Everybody needs to learn this. What the soul is, what God is, who God is, what we were really about. Whatever, a lot of controversy surrounding it. And that people felt it wasn't time. Nobody can really appreciate it. The simple Jew cannot appreciate it. But he said, yes, now they can appreciate more than ever. And the Alter Rebbe then took it to a new level. He said, now I'm going to print everything, and I'm going to make it in the language of the people. Everybody can understand it now. I'm not just going to talk about it and walk around and speak about it, but I'm going to mass produce it and bring it down. I'm going to work on making it in simple terms so that everybody can understand it. And he was thrown in jail for that kind of spreading, and he understood that, spiritually speaking, it was from heaven. It was from Shemayim, right? I don't understand these things, to be honest, but we know. That's what they tell us. Tzaddikim see things differently, as the Gemara attests to thousands of times. And he thought, perhaps I shouldn't have been doing what I'm doing. And I'm not really pushing forward the agenda of what the Baal Shem Tov was trying to push. And when he was released from jail, it was clear to him that he was doing the right thing, that it was the time, and he pushed it even to an even greater extent. What Chassidus is all about, and what Yud Tes Kislev is all about, that's tonight we'll celebrate it, tomorrow we'll celebrate it. It's called the Rosh Hashanah of Chassidus. The inward Jew, the inner part of who we are at our core. Now, to us in our generation, it makes perfect sense. To me, it's what I love. It's what gives me vitality in my Torah learning. And what could possibly be wrong with learning this stuff? And it speaks to me, and it's incredible. Yes, the Baal Shem Tov saw that the generations now, starting from the 1700s and forward, are going to appreciate this. It's their language. It's what they've been it's what people have been trying to express. And we celebrate that. So he saw that. He had the foresight. He had the nevuah, the prophecy, the prophetic vision, perhaps you could say, to express that, to see that and emphasize that. And that's what we celebrate. We're celebrating who we are at our core, not just as Jews that do mitzvahs and learn Torah, but what does it mean to learn Torah? What is a mitzvah? What am I at my core? What is this table at its core? A bug, whatever it is. Who is God? Can I have a relationship with God, a dialogue with God? And that's what we're celebrating tonight and what it really means. So there'll be lots of Farbrengens going on, I'm sure. And I can't let that pass. So now we know what tonight is all about, more or less. I'm sure Rabbi Weinberg will talk at length, as he did last year, in his class about Yutes Kislev. We finish the Tanya. We don't finish the Tanya, saying it's not true. We say the last words of the Tanya, and then we begin the Tanya anew, the daily portion of the Tanya. Every day, by the way, we have a class. I don't always post it. There is a daily Tanya Shiur class given by Rabbi Yeye Wilhelm, who's a Chabad in the Upper East Side, young professionals. Super funny guy. It's usually like a 5-minute class. It's at 2:00 usually. If you want to know, I'll give you the post. There are
plenty. Hey, Rabbi, real quick.
Yeah.
He just posted. I take his class, and he just posted that is at 12:15.
Yeah. Okay.
Last class.
Right. I wasn't going to post it because it's during my class, but it's starting anew tomorrow. So if you want to go, you could switch to his class right now. I'm not sharing the link with you, but you can go right now. 12:15. At 12:15.
Not at all.
In 3 minutes, you can go. He is finishing it. That's right. Okay. Thanks, Moshe. You can shut this off right now and go to another class. Okay, I want to just finish up the last couple lines of talking about mikvah, kalim and mikvah, dipping your thing in a mikvah. Just had a long discussion with Rabbi Silverberg today about what makes a mikvah kosher and not kosher, why a river is not kosher, or it can be, it can't be. Outside of the land of, outside of the Middle East, a river can be very problematic. And the same applies to a pond, why a pond might be problematic. And the reason is, if the majority of water is rainwater or non-natural spring water, then it has to be koiveya. It has to be gathered in one place. That's what a mikvah means. It's gathered in one place, which means it doesn't flow. It doesn't move. The problem with a river and a pond is that a lot of times it's majority rainwater, right? Especially in rainy parts of the world or in rainy seasons. But there's really no rainy seasons. If you live anywhere but like the West Coast, Southwest of the United States, in the Middle East, whatever, we have rain all the time. Now, the problem is if it's majority rainwater filling your pond or river, and there's cracks in the walls of the river or the pond, then the water's flowing. It's like moving out. And that becomes that's problematic. You can't have that. That's why typically we don't allow a woman to go in these parts of the world in a river or a pond for a mikvah, as well as kalim, utensils. Okay. So let me just finish up over here. We don't toivel, which means we don't dip utensils on Shabbos or Yom Tiv. We actually had kind of a funny class. There is a situation where you can, and it's not in here. But the way you could do it is if it is a utensil which could look like you're just trying to gather some water, in which case like a pitcher. If it looks like you're just going to I forgot the reason. Whatever. You could, if it's a pitcher, if it just looks like you're just trying to like get some water, not toivel it, then it could be okay. I forgot the whole reason why it's a problem. Obviously, it's a problem for carrying. That's one thing. Or you might be watering. I shouldn't have gotten into this conversation. Whatever. There is an exception, and you can ask Rabbi Schneider tomorrow because he's the one that taught it to us, where there is where you can do it. But anyway, let's just say you have a utensil and you didn't toivel it on Shabbos. What can you do? Well, the classic thing is give it to a non-Jew. And then you borrow it from him, which is the typical life hack. If you have something to toivel, you don't live near a place where you can toivel, put it in a mikvah. You give it to a non-Jew. It's a type of utensil that can be used to draw water in an area where it's permissible to carry, draw water. Oh, so this is probably exactly what it is. If it is a type of utensil that can be used to draw water in an area where it's permitted to carry, draw water with it from the mikvah, and bring it home, this will not appear as a ritual immersion, but the bracha should not be recited. Okay, but what's the underlying issue? Is it because of carrying? I don't remember. I'm not sure if the underlying issue is carrying. Whatever. If you need to do something on Shabbos, really, something on Shabbos. Yeah?
I think, I don't remember where I heard this, but I think it's because it's like makabeh patish because you can't use the keli until you
Mm,
actually toivel it.
mm.
So when you toivel it, that's like makabeh patish, which is you can't do it on Shabbos. So I guess what the Shulchan Aruch is saying is like if you do it in a way that doesn't look like you're actually uh, dealing the final blow,
Right.
like finalizing it,
Mhm.
then it's fine because
Yeah.
like you could also just be carrying water, which is
Right.
fine in the Erev.
Right. So it seems like makabeh patish. Makabeh patish. Okay, that could just explain for those of you that don't know. You can't. What are all these malachas on Shabbos? All these things we can't do on Shabbos. Basically, they're called creative acts. Something was unusable or unusable for its intent, and then you made it usable for its intent. So you can't put together a certain project. What's an example? I don't know. What's an example? Let me just think of something. I can't think of anything. You, I can't even think of the classic examples. You can't, if something is unusable, and then you do the last step that now makes it usable, that's called the makabeh patish. That's dealing the last blow. Makkah hit bepatish, the last or whatever, the final. So you can't do that. So here he's saying, Ari's saying that basically the utensil was not used. It wasn't usable because you can't use it unless it goes to the mikvah. And now you bring it to the mikvah, and now you can use it. Or it appears like that. That's interesting.
So,
I don't know if that's true. I don't know. I don't know if that's the reason. I don't remember. I'm not saying you're right or wrong.
but this is temporary. Does it say anywhere that after Shabbat you have to fully immerse it? Is it like a temporary thing just for Shabbat?
Yeah, temporary is fine, but it's
What's
not
temporary?
temporary when you toivel.
What's temporary? What are we talking about? Why temporary?
Like it's saying you can you can use the utensil, draw water in an area where you have eruv, right? Halachic eruv. Then you can bring it home. This will not appear as a ritual immersion, but the baracha should not be recited. So are you able to use, if you're using it only for Shabbat, this utensil, then do you have to go back again and fully immerse it? That's what I'm trying to
No,
get.
I don't think so. From the class that I learned, I don't think you actually have to go back and do it. I don't know. But I'll find out.
And also a question about the gifting to a non-Jew. Like, okay, so on Yom Tov, for example, things get busy, and then like you forgot to immerse a kettle or whatever, or a pot, and then so what is the idea behind, again, like you borrow it to the Jew, I mean you gift it to the non-Jew, and then you borrow it. So if you're borrowing it from them, so it's okay to
because you only mikvah something that belongs when it
to you.
belongs to me as a Jew.
Okay.
So here's like a hack. It doesn't belong to me. Yeah, it's just a hack.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Okay, moving on. There's a new siman, and this is actually very important. Speaking about non-Jews and Jews and doing stuff together. Okay, this is very, very important over here. That was the end of mikvah. Something called Pas Yisrael and Bishul Yisrael. Now, Pas Yisrael means bread that was baked by a Jew. Bishul Yisrael means a food that was cooked by a Jew. And they each have their own separate levels of stringency. The problem with bread cooked by a non-Jew is called chasnos. We're worried about marrying a non-Jew. So a Jew and a non-Jew getting married. Now, what happens is when people eat, they get more, it's more intimate, and they become close. So we don't eat in the home of a non-Jew. We don't eat bread. I mean, you can eat, I guess, like if you're just staying in someone's house, like whatever. Let me just why am I stumbling over here, mumbling? Because if a non-Jew is just hosting you in their house, like for whatever reason, to sleep, you can bring your own food and cook your own food and eat. I mean, you can eat your own food in their house, and that's actually what happens when Bachrim go to different parts of the world for like Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, and we run a community over there. We create a little community called Merka Shlichus. I stayed always at the home of a non-Jew. Whatever, it's like a non-Jewish person that was very nice with the rabbi, close to the rabbi, and he was like, "You can stay in my house, whatever," which had its benefits because turning on lights and off and on, it was easier to stay in the house of a non-Jew than it was in a Jew. But I could eat my food in his house. So eating in a non-Jewish house could perfectly be permissible. The problem is, if they bake bread and you're going to eat the bread in the house, yeah, all conversations, let's break bread together. Well, we don't always break bread together. Let me say that. Okay, we don't always do that. Now, there is times when you can have bread that's cooked by a non-Jew, especially if it's a bakery, because you're not worried about marrying the other person, called chasnus. You're not worried about them, any intimacy happening, getting close and wanting to marry. And therefore, you'll have plenty of very frum religious Jews that will eat bread that is kosher, OU parv, but it's not pas Yisrael. Now, close your ears if you don't want to hear this. Kabbalistically, you should always try to eat bread cooked by a Jew for Kabbalistic reasons. Chabad is very makpid, very careful to eat pas Yisrael breads, which means any of the 5 grains baked 5 grains, which includes crackers as well. Yeah, crackers. Now there's something else called Bishul Yisrael. There are certain foods that have to be cooked by a Jew. Bishul, cooked, Yisrael, by a Jew. And there are tricks and trades to that. Now let me explain something with Bishul Yisrael. Everybody holds by Bishul Yisrael. There are certain foods that have to be cooked by a Jew. Or we'll say the fire is stoked by a Jew. The Jew did something in the process of the cooking that without that assistance by the Jew, the food could not have been cooked. What do I want to say? Bishul Yisrael, Jew. Okay, we'll get into exactly which foods those are, and what it is. So pas Yisrael there's a leniency with pas Yisrael. You don't always have to have bread baked by a Jew. Okay, let's just get into this really quickly. The sages forbid us to eat bread baked by a non-Jew. There are locales. I want to say Bishul Yisrael applies even to a non-frum Jew. A non-frum Jew, a non-religious Jew, and therefore even a Jew who's not knowledgeable, falls under the category of what's called Bishul Akum, cooked by a non-Jew, something cooked by a non-Jew. So you have to be certain foods have to be cooked by a frum Jew. Certain stores, even if they're operated by a Jew, if they're open on Shabbos, it's also an issue. That's why, by the way, you have to be knowledgeable as well. And that's why certain people don't ever be offended if somebody doesn't want to eat in your house. A frum Jew doesn't want to eat in your house. Because there are a lot of laws in kashrus that people aren't really aware of. And so they just, in general, stay away from eating in a lot of people's homes or really in anybody's home. Okay, fine. Let's go into this. It's going to become more clear. I'm going to say this all over again as we move on. The sages have forbidden us to eat bread baked by a non-Jew. There are localities, however, that are lenient, and they buy bread from a non-Jewish bakery. When there is no Jewish baker in the vicinity, or even if there is one, but his bread is inferior to that of the non-Jew. Very important. But they were not lenient regarding the bread made privately by a non-Jew, except in extraordinary circumstances. So if you're traveling on the road and a kosher bread is available in another town, you must wait and buy the kosher bread if the town is within a distance of a parsa. A parsa is about 2 2/3 of a mile, about 72-minute walk, 2 2/3, so about 2.5 to 3 miles away. So yeah, if kosher bread, pas Yisrael bread, is within 2.5 miles, or 2, you gotta eat that. Bread is not considered privately made unless the non-Jew made it for his own family. But if he made it to sell, it's considered baker's bread. Even though he ordinarily does not bake for the trade. So, yeah, on Fridays he just sells bread. That's okay. You can eat that bread on Fridays. Similarly, a baker who bakes bread for his family is considered a private person. and his bread is called private bread. There's an authority who maintains, we don't really hold this, but there's an authority who maintains that in a locality where there is no bakeries, it is even permissible to eat the bread of a non-Jewish private person, and you don't have to wait for kosher Jewish bread, and this is the accepted custom. But we don't live off of bread alone. And so we can survive without bread. In fact, our bread is very different from the bread that they had back then. People don't follow this. Nowadays, it's just, Pas Yisrael bread is pretty available, and you should do your best to try to eat Pas Yisrael, bread baked by a Jew. Even Trader Joe's, has Pas Yisrael bread. Plenty of Pas Yisrael bread. Even in North Carolina. I know because I go home and I see it. Okay, here we go. How does a bread become Pas Yisrael baked by a Jew? If a Jew throws in even a piece of wood, or nowadays it means turns up the knobs in some way, down or up the knobs, into the oven, the bread is permitted and is not considered baked by a non-Jew. So here we go. If you throws it in the oven, in other words, makes the fire higher. So in our case, it's turning of the knobs, then that's considered Pas Yisrael and totally fine. And this will also apply to Bishul Yisrael, cooking food. Okay, there's a lot of leniencies when it comes to Bishul Yisrael. We'll get to it in a second. Not a lot, but whatever. Okay, we'll do one more halacha. The sages forbid the bread of a non-Jew only if it is made from the 5 grains: wheat, barley, oats, rye, and spelt. But bread made from legumes, beans, peas, and corn is not considered bread, and it's also not forbidden as food cooked by a non-Jew, because it's not fit to be served on the table of kings. That is a very powerful line. See, Oila al shulchan malachim. This is a very important line. That's how do we decide if something is considered chashuv, something important, and it's going to play out very careful. You have to know this concept. Oila al shulchan malachim means, is it food that's fit to be on the table of a king? Now, this is going to come into play with regards to Bishul Yisrael in a moment. Here, it's actually coming in right now. Bread of a non-Jew, which has been glazed with eggs, is forbidden because of the eggs. For it is then considered so this is even in a baker, right? This isn't considered in a bakery. I'm talking about a bakery over here. The bread is bad, egg challah. Yeah, you can't have egg challah that was baked in a non-kosher bakery, because it's considered food that's cooked by a non-Jew. The eggs are a food, and you can't have eggs cooked by a non-Jew. There are wafers or cookies that are baked in metal pans, since there is no reason to suspect the pan was smeared with non-kosher fat, are forbidden in any event because the pan has absorbed non-kosher fat. Okay. Don't worry. Yeah, say that. Okay, so basically this is like a big question. Can I go ahead and eat? This is a classic question. Let me tell you guys, it's a classic question. The first job I ever had was actually at a coffee shop, non-kosher coffee shop. We served paninis and we served whatever, different types of foods. And the way they cleaned all of the pans was it was all put into this sanitizer. So it means even the mugs, the urns, the food, the plates were all in one sanitizer, which means they're in a sanitizer. Hot water is being mixed around everywhere. So the food from the plates is going into the mugs, which is going into the urns, which is going in, and therefore everything actually absorbed non-kosher food. And therefore, you got to be really careful when going to a coffee shop. I always ask them, and I've never had an issue, and I've done this all over the world. I just say, I have a dietary issue. How do you clean your urns? The urn where they make the coffee. And they have no problem telling you. Usually they have no problem telling. Most of the time they clean it. It's a self-cleaning mechanism, and it should be totally fine. But if they say, we we clean it with a sponge, or we stick it into the sanitizer, then it's a big problem because things have been mixed around. Okay, I have to actually stop here. We're going to get more into it. Bishul Yisrael is going to be a big, big topic, by the way. That's going to be next week. So stick around. Well, leave.
I have more questions. Oh, go ahead.
Yeah. Sure.
Everybody has questions.
So if you can refer me to a source that I can do more research on it, I'll do that. But I have a kosher kitchen now, Baruch Hashem, and I bought a like a pitcher, like a water filter pitcher, right? Do we have to toivel that? And if so, like, do we have to toivel the filter as well?
Yeah, no. Well, is it plastic?
Yes.
Yeah, so first of all, you don't really have to toivel plastic. Chabad
Right.
is machmir to toivel plastic, but you don't do it with a blessing. Yeah, if you can, you should. But if you can, then don't do it. I mean, if you're like
Okay.
it's not whatever, it's not easy for me, you don't have to.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
So
Perfect.
brand new plastic usually, because then that brings up the issue is like in Chabad we serve food from out of like brand new stack of disposable plastic plates. Then do they have to be toiveled as well? So
Oh, so
I thought
if it's only a one-time use, that's not considered.
okay.
One-time
So
use.
but the filter pitchers and all these are like brand new packaged. The only thing would be the carbon filters. So that's the only issue if we need to toivel that too. But if we don't have to.
I don't think I've ever heard anybody toiveling the filters. No, really, I don't think because I don't think it's possible to get every
Right,
part
yeah.
of the filter. I've never heard anybody do it.
Yeah.
Thinking
Yeah.
about it now. First of all, it's probably dangerous because unless
Right.
it's all the chlorine, I'm not sure, but because you can't really clean it properly.
No, you can't. It only filters the water. It basically carbon just gets the chlorine binded, and it only like it's sifting basically. You cannot use it on Shabbos. Also,
Yes.
so
for sure.
yeah.
Uh-huh. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Good question.
So Rabbi,
Yeah.
so real quick, when you gave the example, what you serve it on the king's table, that's pretty much why we Chabad don't eat anything that's cooked by, even if it's stamped OU, the breads, because we don't know.
Oh well, no. OU bread. So for bread has its own status. OU bread is totally
Mhm.
kosher. It's not pas Yisrael. It might not necessarily be baked by a Jew. Probably not, actually. If it's from
Right.
the OU, it's probably not, unless it says pas Yisrael on it. And we have an extra stringency for Kabbalistic reasons. But there are plenty of frum Jews, religious Jews, that will eat non-pas Yisrael breads. No issue.
Yeah. I think most
But you're
Chabad
talking about
rabbis.
chassits? We're talking about chassits?
Oh, maybe not even. Well, Hasidic Jews learn Hasidus, and so they follow a lot of Kabbalah, especially when Kabbalah is more machmir than Shulchan Aruch, more stringent than Shulchan Aruch. So a lot of them will only eat pas Yisrael breads. I would assume all of them. First of all of them live
Right.
in frum neighborhoods. It's only Chabad that's all over the
Mhm.
place. So
Right.
it's very available, and therefore they have no excuse, and therefore they have to eat pas Yisrael bread. But
Yeah, well, I live I live pretty much where the chassid live, and it's hard to get bread. Hard to get
Pas Yisrael
bread. Yeah, sometimes it is. Sometimes, we go to the store, we don't find stuff. I ate hamburgers the other day without bread.
Did even call
Because
the hamburger.
I mean, I found like Arnold's is OU
Yeah, Arnold.
part,
Yeah.
but it also says in the package that they use milk in that facility, so therefore I couldn't use it because it's
Well-
not halal Yisrael.
Well, no. Well, no, but then it could be that there's like traces of milk. That might necessarily be a problem. They wouldn't put if it's OU Parv, and it's a company that has milk. There's no milking issue. There's no milking issue. It's a good question. There's no milking issue.
No.
I think they have to do it for other reasons, but they write that down for other reasons. But it's not. They would put dairy equipment. OU would put dairy equipment or something like that.
Right, OUDE, right,
OUD,
correct.
right.
But there is a story in the Tanya.
I'm a little skeptical of that.
Yeah, sometimes it's hard. Sometimes they don't bring enough stuff in, and you get there a little late. Everything's pretty much gone.
Trader Joe's
there-
sells
Mhm.
the company MK, the Heckscher company MK, which is Montreal Kosher, it will not say Pas Yisrael on it because MK itself we know all their breads are Pas Yisrael. If you go to Israel, MK operates like all the Hashgacha in Israel. There is no, in Israel, you won't
Okay.
see something that says Pas Yisrael or Cholav Yisrael or all these, because the certifying agent has rules, and the Badats and all these different companies in Israel they only do Chalav Yisrael breads and Chalav Yisrael cheeses, dairy stuff, and Pas Yisrael breads. They're not going to say it. MK, which is Montreal Kosher, also has that standard of Pas Yisrael. They only do Pas Yisrael. So if you see something that says MK, and which in Trader Joe's
Okay.
has a lot, at least here, and North Carolina, I would assume Florida as well. Unless
Okay.
they feel like Jews don't come anyway. No, really, like it's not worth it for us to carry it here because people get it from a different place. Just FYI.
So my question is, Rabbi, do you want me to ask now, or you want me to audio message you?
Oh yeah,
Because-
maybe audio. I do need
Okay.
to go. Actually, it's a good question.
Okay. Okay. All right. I'll audio message it.
Okay, everybody.
All
I'll
right.
see you guys later. And as we say, good Yom Tiv. Tonight will be a Yom Tiv. Limud
Yes.
HaChassidus, Darkei HaChassidus. You should learn a lot of Chassidus.
Important
Very
day.
important.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, I'll speak to you guys soon. Thanks a lot.
Sei gesund.
Bye.
Alrighty.
See you guys. Bye bye.
Thanks,
Shalom,
Rabbi.
shalom.